The smell of smoke still lives in my lungs. I remember the way it filled every inch of my throat that night, thick and choking, like the world was swallowing me whole. I was 16. My sister Lily was 13. We were both asleep when the fire started, somewhere near the kitchen. Maybe a short circuit, maybe carelessness. I'll never know. I woke to her screaming my name. "Ellie, the house! It's on fire!" I stumbled out of bed barefoot, heat already searing through the floorboards. Flames danced along the hallway, orange and violent, crawling toward us faster than I could think. I grabbed Lily's hand, our skin slick with sweat, and we ran, coughing, tripping, choking, toward the stairs. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. Halfway down, the ceiling cracked. A beam fell. I pushed Lily forward, felt pain shoot through my leg as something hot slammed into me. I didn't scream. I just clung to her hand until I couldn't. When I opened my eyes again, everything was white. The ceiling above me wasn't our house. It was a hospital. Machines hummed beside me, beeping in time with my heartbeat. My body felt foreign, wrapped in bandages heavy with pain. Lily was in the next room. I could hear her crying faintly, calling for me. Then I heard another voice. My father's. "Doctor," he said, voice low, calm, too calm. "If one of them can't make it, I need you to save Lily. She's the bright one. She's always been. We can't afford both." The words slid through the wall like a blade. I froze. My throat went dry, my chest burning worse than the fire had. The doctor hesitated. "Sir, both girls are critical but stable." "Stable?" my dad snapped. "You don't understand. We lost everything. The house, the savings. If one of them's weak, you know what I mean." I didn't want to believe what I was hearing. But then I heard my mother's voice. Soft, trembling, but agreeing. Maybe he's right. Ellie's older. She'll understand. Lily still has a future. Tears stung my eyes. I tried to move, tried to say something, but tubes and pain held me down. My voice was trapped somewhere between my ribs and the machine keeping me alive. I spent that night staring at the ceiling, realizing that even survival came with conditions in that family. When I woke again, days had passed. Lily sat beside my bed, her arm bandaged, her face pale. She smiled weakly. "You're okay?" she whispered. "They said you almost didn't make it." I smiled back, pretending not to know why. Over the next few weeks, the doctors spoke quietly around me, and my parents visited less. When they did come, they brought nothing. No flowers, no clothes, not even comfort. Just sighs and complaints. My dad once looked at my chart and muttered, "The bills for this one are higher than Lily's. Figures." My mom didn't even shush him. She just sat there, scrolling through her phone. When I was finally discharged, it wasn't a happy homecoming. The house was gone, replaced by a cramped motel room that smelled like mildew and regret. I slept on the floor next to a window that wouldn't shut. Lily had a bed. I didn't blame her. She was just a kid. But every time I looked at my parents, I saw the night they chose her over me. I saw their faces reflected in the fire, watching, calculating, deciding who was worth saving. I stopped talking much. I stopped asking for anything. I just listened. "Lily's got a scholarship meeting," Dad said one morning, pouring coffee into a cracked mug. "Ellie, you can skip school today. No point wasting gas." Mom nodded. "Let her rest. She's not really college material anyway." Their words didn't even sting anymore. They just confirmed what I already knew. At 16, I started working part-time at a diner down the street. Greasy tables, long hours, aching feet. I didn't mind. The customers treated me with more kindness than my parents ever did. Lily would visit sometimes after her tutoring sessions, full of stories about teachers who believed in her, awards she might win. I'd smile and tell her she deserved all of it, because she did. But deep down, a small voice whispered, they were saving her for a future built on my ashes. And one night, as I sat outside the diner watching the smoke from the grill drift into the cold sky, I decided something. If I had to crawl through fire once to live, I'd do it again, but this time not to prove I deserved life. This time I'd make them see what they'd burned away. That was the night I started planning. 2 years later, the scars on my leg were still there. Pale reminders of the night they almost decided I wasn't worth saving. I'd learned to walk without limping, but the pain came back on cold mornings. The diner job had turned into something steadier. The owner, a kind old man named Frank, treated me like the daughter he never had. He'd say things like, "You've got quiet fire, kid. Keep that." Lily was doing great. At least that's what I kept hearing from my parents. They'd brag about her to anyone who would listen. "Full scholarship," my dad would say. "We raised her right." He never mentioned me. In their eyes, I was still the burden they couldn't afford, just like the hospital bills he complained about every month. Sometimes I'd see Lily on social media, smiling, surrounded by friends, her caption always full of gratitude. "Thanks, Mom and Dad, for believing in me." I never corrected her. She didn't know what they said that night. She didn't hear "pull the plug." She still thought our parents were heroes. Then one day, they showed up at the diner. It was a Sunday morning, quiet except for the hiss of the coffee machine. I was refilling creamers when I saw them through the window. Dad in his usual work jacket, Mom in her pearls like she, was dressing for respect she no longer had. My stomach twisted. "Ellie," Dad said when they walked in, pretending surprise. "Didn't know you worked here." "Yes, you did," I said flatly. "You just never cared." He ignored that. We wanted to talk. Frank, sensing the tension, gave me a quick nod and stepped into the back. I folded my arms. What could we possibly have to talk about? Dad cleared his throat. "It's about Lily. She's been in an accident." My heart dropped. "What?" "She's in the hospital," Mom said, wiping fake tears from her eyes. "They said it's serious. She might need a donor." I didn't speak. The air felt heavy. Dad leaned forward. "The doctor says you're the best match." It was like deja vu, the same sterile rooms, the same desperate tone, but this time I wasn't the one dying. "So you came to me," I said quietly, "because now I'm useful?" Dad frowned. "Don't make this about you. We're talking about your sister. She has a future." The words hit me like ash in my lungs. A future. The same excuse they used to leave me behind. Mom grabbed my hand. "Ellie, please, we need you." I pulled my hand back. "No, you need a replacement organ. You don't get to ask for my blood after you wished it stopped pumping." Her face hardened. "You're being selfish." "Selfish?" I laughed, sharp and bitter. "You stood in a hospital and chose who got to live. You called the doctor and said I wasn't worth saving. And now you want me to save her?" Dad slammed his fist on the table, drawing glances from other customers. "We did what we had to do." I leaned forward, voice calm. "So will I." They didn't know what to do. For the first time, I saw fear in their eyes, not of losing Lily, but of losing control over me. "I'll think about it," I said finally, just to end it. "You'll hear from me soon." When they left, I went to the back room, closed the door, and cried harder than I had in years. I loved Lily. I truly did. None of this was her fault. But standing between their guilt and her innocence was a wound that hadn't healed since the night of the fire. That night, I visited the hospital. The hallway lights were soft and cold, the same smell of antiseptic pressing against my chest. Lily lay pale and quiet in the bed, wires running across her arms. I sat beside her, brushed her hair off her face, and whispered, "You were always the bright one, but they dimmed me to make you shine." I didn't know what revenge would look like yet, only that it wouldn't be loud or cruel. It would be quiet, precise, a mirror they couldn't escape, and for once, I was the one holding the match. 2 weeks later, I walked into the hospital again, this time not as a victim, not as the forgotten daughter, but as someone who finally understood the power of silence. The fire had burned my home, but it hadn't burned my memory. Lily was recovering. The doctors had managed without me. A partial donor from a distant cousin had stepped forward when my parents ran out of options. She was stable now, awake, fragile but alive. When she saw me walk in, her face lit up. "Ellie," she whispered weakly, tears in her eyes. You came. I hugged her gently. Of course I did. She had no idea about the nights I lay awake, replaying every word our parents had said about her being the bright one, about me being too much to save. None of that mattered here. She wasn't the enemy. She was another casualty of their love that came with conditions. But they were there, too. My parents. Sitting across the room like ghosts who hadn't realized the fire had already claimed them years ago. My dad stood when I entered, relief flooding his face. Ellie, thank God you're here. We didn't know if you'd— Stop. I cut him off. You didn't come here to thank me. You came to make sure I didn't forget your last attempt to play savior. Mom shifted uncomfortably. We all said things we didn't mean back then. I stepped closer. You told the doctor to pull the plug. Silence. The same kind of silence that filled the house before it burned. Thick, suffocating, full of everything they refused to admit. My voice stayed calm, but every word carried years of heat. You didn't just say it, you meant it. You chose one child to save and left the other to die. I lived anyway. My dad's jaw tightened. You don't understand, No, I said, my tone quiet but final. You don't understand. You don't get to come to me now pretending we're a family again because you need comfort. You lost that the night you lost your house. And me with it. Mom's eyes welled up. Ellie, please, we were scared, we didn't— I know, I said, soft but sharp. You were scared, but so was I. And I was 16. You had a choice. You chose to keep breathing while hoping I'd stop. I turned to Lily and smiled faintly. You don't owe me anything. You just rest, okay? I'll visit again soon. Then I looked back at my parents, and it was the first time they looked small, truly small, like the fire had finally reached them after all these years. Before leaving, I pulled something from my bag, a folded envelope. I handed it to my dad. I took out insurance on myself when I turned 18. You know, just in case the world decided I wasn't worth saving again. There's a clause in there. It names Lily as my sole beneficiary, not you. He blinked, confused. Why are you telling me this? So you'd know, I said evenly, that I thought of her even when you didn't think of me. That's what family looks like. You'll never understand it. I left before they could speak. Outside, the night air was cool, crisp. No smoke this time, no burning, just peace. As I stepped into the parking lot, I looked back through the glass one last time. My parents were sitting still, pale, stunned, like they'd just realized the one they buried in their hearts had walked out alive. And untouchable. Lily smiled faintly through the glass, mouthing, I love you. I smiled back. I know. Driving home, the hum of the car felt like quiet victory. Revenge hadn't been fire this time. It had been truth, slow, patient, suffocating in its clarity. And as the lights of the hospital faded behind me, I finally exhaled, free from the ashes, free from their choices, free from the family that never chose me back. That night, I slept soundly for the first time in years, knowing they'd wake every morning remembering the daughter they'd tried to erase, and realizing they could never unsee her again. Please subscribe to our channel and tell Lucien comments from where are you watching this video.